Hello everyone and welcome back to the Wicked Weekly. Today I've got some good news and some bad news. We're going to obviously lead with the good news, but for those of you who have been watching the videos, note that the bad news is only confirming what I've been telling you guys is happening this entire time. So stick around, we've got a lot to talk about. This is going to be a massive dev Q&A. Thomas has been spending his time answering our questions in the Discord, and there's some really interesting and honestly I would say some really good news to share with you guys in today's video. Let's open it up first and foremost. Let's just dive into this because I'm so excited to share with you it. Typo asks, imagine 3 to 4 months for the patch 1, which will likely need some hot fixes, so co-op is probably a year or so. And Thomas says no, they're gonna come way sooner than that. Now he goes on to say he's already playtesting patch 1 every day. They've also confirmed they're playtesting the multiplayer stuff as well. And he goes on to say Crucible should become insane. It was disheartening to hear some people crap on the Crucible early on. If we do this right, Crucible alone will offer you everything that Hades does. And continuing in this case, current Crucible is basically put together by us in 2 months, so we're aware that it lacks depth at the moment, but we agree, and it won't be soon enough. Then Mr. Fox asked this question: how insane are we talking about in relation to this Crucible update? Thomas says, I want to put a lot of effort into it, but first we have to make sure the breach is perfect and that multiplayer has landed. So I think that's going to be something really exciting to see. Speaking of that though, there has been a little bit of speculation incorrectly, and I'd like to make sure we set the record straight because I've seen people say that I said 1.0 is coming out this year. I could see here Math is sharing patch 1.0 just in October. Will they include the job and classes in it, as we've covered that in previous videos? Note to say, I have not said patch number 1 is going to include the job system. Most likely that's going to be the Crucible 2.0 update. I want to reiterate that. But Thomas jumps in. He says, who said October? There's a lot of stuff coming from. It's going to be way sooner than that. But you can see that he thought that he was talking about the version 1.0, the release, the full release. Thomas says 1.0 is not this year. Correct. Patch number 1 won't have the job system, and that is for later. So ultimately, job system, and I love the fact that he called it the job system. I'll tell you, we're going to make this a thing. But that being said, most likely Combat 2.0, not that they're going to maybe even have all the jobs ready for Combat 2.0. It could be something that they can kind of phase in, out. I don't know what their best approach is, but adding in 40 jobs is going to be a lot of work, guys, especially when it comes to balance. There's going to be testing that needs to happen. That's why it's going to happen before 1.0. 1.0 is going to be next year at a minimum. I really hope that it is. And as soon as we know, I will share it with you guys. I will keep you up to date on all the No Rest for the Wicked news, as well as Light No Fire. Really excited about that game. For those of you who checked out my latest Light No Fire video, thank you so much for that. But also huge shout out and welcome to the 1,200 of you guys who are new here to the channel. Really glad you're here. I do want to do a little bit something different. I like to usually generally highlight all the new folks who say that they're new in the comments, but I want to highlight this comment that was made on our recent podcast clip from Zaza saying, and I'm not sorry, you two are the reason why gaming is going to collapse soon. And this just tickles me to no end. For those of you who aren't aware, I would really encourage you guys. We have a podcast, The Gaming Roundtable. It's going under a rebrand. We've lost a little bit of subscribers over the course of the last month, and that's to be expected all in all. But I think it's a really fun show. The link in the description, the third link, you'll see the podcast link. We'll get you over there. We live stream this every Friday. I'd love to have you a part of that community. If you guys want to go above and beyond, like for example, you're already subscribed here and you're like, hey, that would be awesome. And I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially about the podcast. We've talked to other No Rest for the Wicked creators. We'll get some more of those on here as well. And we cover more gaming news, what's going on with the industry, especially coming from veterans, developers, and so much more. So it's a really great show. I'm going to plug that. It's the last time I'm going to plug it in this video. I'd hope that you get the opportunity to check it out. And thank you guys so much if you do. All right, let's continue on because like I said, this is a massive dev Q&A, lots to go through. Hayes says, I hope the marketing for multiplayer goes well and everything. Kind of sad how it went with the breach. Sure, there were issues, but the game should have sold way more with that, considering all of it. And Thomas says he agrees. He's actually playing patch 1 every day, and it's so addictive. He thinks that there's a lot of players out there that are obviously waiting for multiplayer. And I know I see you guys in the comments who aren't really interested in multiplayer. No shade in this statement, but I know that I really do enjoy multiplayer games to the extent that I'm going to see what I can do. Maybe play some with some of the older kids. Yes, it is rated M for mature, but that's just more of a violent thing for now. And I don't necessarily mind too much video game violence, but that's just my kind of view as a parent. You guys can do what it is that you feel is best for your families. Now he says, yes, he continues, even if they won't end up playing the whole ton of multiplayer, they just want it to be all set so they can play with friends and share stuff. Many of you guys in the comments are saying, me and my friend group waiting for multiplayer. Absolutely fair. We are giving away copies of this game. So even with your friend group, if you want to have the opportunity to score some free games, we're supporting the devs by gifting out copies of this game. I'd love to be able to gift you a copy, get more people and grow this community. So stick around. We're going to have some fun with that. Thomas goes on to say there's going to be so much polish they've already currently added into patch 1. So it's looking and shaping up quite nicely. And that we don't need 50 chests anymore, just to have one chest for resources, gear, and for food, etc. Because then the conversation on Discord kind of was everybody showing off their houses that are just filled to the brim with chests. So some massive quality of life improvements coming there. He also goes on to confirm they're going to have racks for weapons to display weapons and gear, and jewelry boxes for rings, and so on. So some of you folks are already going to need that fortress for sure. Now, Brian stepping in to kind of apply my dev brain on top of what Thomas is sharing. Everything that he's been sharing as we've continued to progress day over day, week over week with the Wicked Weekly here, he keeps talking about patch 1 and multiplayer. We do know for a fact that these are separate. They are not the same update. But Thomas continues to talk to make me think that patch number 1 is actually going to happen first. It's going to add that quality of life. It's going to make these adjustments, add in more content. And then the multiplayer update is going to follow that. In terms of soon, again, I think we're still on target for perhaps June. In fact, just this week, Summer Games Fest kicks off. It could be a good opportunity for them to market the game and the update. Does that mean we're going to see patch 1 this week? I wouldn't put money on it, but I wouldn't mind it. You know, if I'm saying it's like, I'm excited to see what that happens. However, it could easily be an opportunity for them to kind of update and say, hey, you know, this is when patch number 1, and they'll probably have a name for it, goes. So we'll see if they decide to do some advertising at Summer Games Fest. So I'm going to be paying very, very close attention to that as well. But that being said, I still think mathematically speaking, they're on target for a late July, early August, maybe for a multiplayer update. That's obviously well before October. We will see. Honestly, if they get it sooner, not going to complain, but I also want to give the time that they need to cook so that it is a positive experience when people step in, especially when they step in to play with their friends, that it works. Because if it doesn't, that's just going to lead to bigger uphill battles. And that's just the nature of gaming. And that's just the nature of how gamers kind of conceive these ideas. All right, moving on. The Slithering Peanut says, is Chevron the only Crucible boss? And Thomas says and confirms, for now. We know that they've talked about and teased multiple different expansions to the Crucible back in the past. And if we need to go over that in a video, please let me know. Tusik, hopefully I feel like I butchered your name. I'm so sorry. Haha. Well, the game is playable anyway, and patch 1 will make it a better experience. Maybe we're overhyping ourselves. And they probably are super cautious with the rating of the game taking a hit with the Breach release. They'll probably take an extra Q&A week. Thomas confirms in following up to this, saying, of course we are. We made sure that every single update gets extensively tested by us and the community now before we fully release it. Not that we didn't test before, but using the devs as testers who plays for hundreds of hours wasn't exactly the smartest move on our side. I can speak for a very experienced. I never find the bugs in my code. I can never seem to get these systems to break. You hand it over to an end user and bada bing, bada boom, there's 30 things that need to get fixed and adjusted. It's just the way it shakes out. So yes, them working with the community, getting more people testing the game, I think will be great. I think that will benefit all of us and it will benefit them as well. Coxino says, Thomas, about the future, what would you like to see as a possible No Rest for the Wicked Collector's Edition? Thomas says he's got some ideas, but let's get to 1.0 first. So I do wonder if that means we're going to see a physical edition. We do know the game is coming to Switch. We do know there's a lot of drama around the Switch too, especially with the game key cards. I'm going to say absolutely, like, there are some real shady things that Nintendo's pulling off. And honestly, we're all in this position, kind of waiting to see what the courts are going to ultimately decide on certain things. I really do want to pull for a digital bill of rights, especially when it comes to our digital, products. That we live in a digital world. And yeah, anyway, that's a whole rant for another day. Let's continue on. Tooth of the Ancient Enjoyer says, how about the insane idea, the way to register an item when you recreate that item at a cost? It would take the place of equipment chests. And Thomas says, you'll actually be able to deconstruct an item at the scribe table in order to get a blueprint of it. That seems to be coming soon. Doesn't say that it's in patch 1, but just note that that's something we can maybe see here soon enough. Then Incia says, would these blueprints be player tradable? And Thomas confirms everything is tradable. Everything. And then when asked, even the early access armor set? Yes, it is in fact also tradable. Will those sets just be limited, or will that set that early access players can indefinitely get one per character on a realm obtain? Thomas says only players who purchase Wicked during early access will ever have access to this set, and will introduce more early access items soon. So whoever doesn't join now will miss out on some of the stuff. People will get a lordship if they join in early access, LOL. I'm guessing that's a title, which might confirm that titles will be coming to the game. And ultimately, when all this put together, it does sound like if you don't have, get it early, you won't be able to pull this, but you'll be able to maybe trade with a friend. Time will tell. So one of two things is true. Either this means everything, including the early access set to players, which it sounds like that's what he's saying here. We could be misunderstanding it specifically. So put in a kind of a grain of salt into this conversation for this. But ultimately, I think title's obviously not tradable, but here you go. And that could be something really interesting to see how that plays out. All right. Got some more dev Q&A here. 25 Ethos says, I think it was already answered before, but will PvP come alongside with co-op? And Thomas confirms, nope, no, PvP is not coming along with a co-op update. They need some extra time for PvP. PvP will also not be invasions earlier on. This is going to be a PvP arena. So it's your choice if you want to fight others. I think that's going to be a nice little rollout of that. And then Thomas has also confirmed about custom realms. So for those of you who are worried about, like, if they do add invasions, it does sound like that's going to be something you can fully control and turn on or turn off by default in that regards. We'll have to see. Obviously, I'll keep you guys up to date on that. Now, Tooth of the Ancient Enjoyer asks, any new runes, weapons coming with patch number 1? Thomas confirms, yep. A few. Now, I don't know if that applies to both or one category or the other. I do think we were going to see plenty of runes, and I do hope that we can start to see these offhands. I know I watched the reaction video, saw a horn, thought it was a pipe. We do know pipes are coming. Man, I would love to see some of these offhands start rolling into play, especially with what Thomas has talked about with kind of a universal set of abilities that your various you can kind of equip and kind of manage. We'll see. I think that is confirmed for patch 1, but don't hold me to that as well. Yazis says, why did the wands get so much love than the gauntlets? And Thomas says some gauntlets actually is going to get buffed in patch 1. Some gauntlets already make for the strongest builds at the moment. Folks, gauntlets aren't weak per se, but got to learn how to use them. Some are weaker than others, yes, but that's going to be fixed with patch 1. And sharing out a breakdown of the time to kill for the various different gauntlets, which it looks like the Shell Guard gauntlets are perhaps some of the best or the fastest time to kill overall, with most of them coming in at 13 seconds and more. So you can see that breakdown here on screen, and I think this is good information to know. Honestly, it makes me want to go hunt for some of these new gauntlets, especially somebody who was using the Iron Stud interrogators and then getting a Dead Fang. I can definitely feel that increase in terms of my play style. But that's going to be what we have. Lots of options, and it's going to be great to see, and we'll be going over all of those patch notes here as well. Now, guys, it's June, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and for this message of hope, this is just me telling you guys you're not alone. Your anxiety, your depression, the things that you're struggling with, we're here together. You and I, strugglers, together throughout all this. I want to encourage you, especially if you're having some dark thoughts, to reach out to a friend, reach out, find a good therapist. I recommend cognitive behavioral therapy. Worked really great for me. but also I want you to get radically curious about your makeup. For me, I truly believe there's so many things at play, and sometimes it isn't obvious. I feel like I can easily get addicted to food. And when I when I don't say no to myself in the food that I eat, I feel different. There are various different knock-on effects, and food is engineered, if we're all going to be honest here, to be addictive. And especially if you're, obviously shopping what's called the center of the grocery aisle. I encourage you guys to reach out, go around the grocery store. That's where you're going to get your fresh food, fruits and vegetables and proteins and more. I'm not going to give you specific diet advice here, but I want you to get radically curious about your health, especially if you're struggling like I've struggled in the past, because I do think that there are answers. I believe it wholeheartedly, and I want you to believe it too, because it is true. You can overcome this, but something might be causing it. You could be having an allergic reaction to something in the food that you're eating. So get radically curious, reach out for help, note that you're not alone, and note that you can overcome anything that you set your mind to. You just got to believe it. It literally is the difference between believing you can or you believe you can't. Either way, you're right. So let's put you into the right category and get you on the track to really start to work on yourself and make this the June to remember. Make this the June that you said, you know what? I can do this. I will do this. People overcome this addiction. People overcome these things every single day. You can be a part of this. You can be a part of this too. So I'm rooting for you. I love you very much. I really want you to be the man that you want to be. And also, especially if you're like me, fellow struggler, I just hope that you can also encourage your fellow man. Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another, and we've got this. We're going to keep fighting, and we're going to keep living, and we're going to keep gaming, dadgummit. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time. I really hope that you got something good. Lots of stuff to be excited about for the future of this game. But without further ado, God bless. I hope you have a wonderful day, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. But until then, take care.
So packed mornings, controller in hand, 6 little co-op partners ready to stand. Rosaries hang where the headsets lay. Faith and frames per second lead the way. Konami code for diapers, faith unlocked.